Hello and welcome back to another view on the rest of the day and to another edition of Raw Out of 10. WWE still in Europe following Clash in Italy, so this week show had a much easier start time for fans in the UK, less so for America. But yeah, all of the fallout from Sunday show where Sol Rucker became champ, but obviously no other title change, and Brock Lesnar beating over Femi. But we started things off with a video recapping the pay-per-view, and we went backstage for the arrivals of Usos and Roman Reigns. They went right to the ring before the show kicked off, and the crowd chanted and sang for a long time before the OTC finally spoke at the 13-minute mark in the show. They called out Jacob Fatu so he could acknowledge Reigns as his tribal chief when they agreed to meet before their tribal match on Sunday. As well, Werewolf came out and Reigns said he knew it was his time. Jay tried to get cute and Fatu stared him dead in the eye until the OTC diverted his attention again. He said he knew he was getting into last night and didn't seem to have any regrets. He acknowledged Reigns as his tribal chief, but also reminded Joe that he didn't lose to him. He got down on one knee and bowed. Reigns shook his hand and said he loved him. Fatu posed with them to end the segment. While this kept the crowd attentive, it felt like a long way of kind of getting around it. Fatu is obviously not happy about this, so it's going to be interesting to see how he did. Everyone did a good job playing their part. The Bloodline's been going for a long time, but yeah, this feels like an intriguing new chapter. As we then got the first King of the Ring qualifier, which saw Carmelo Hayes, Solisco, Obafemi and the IC champ Penta face off. Femi took out all three opponents when he got in the ring and then did his signature pose as music continued to play. When the bell rang, all three opponents tried to team up again and failed. The entire of this first half of the match was designed to remind people how dominant Femi can be despite his defeat. Everyone did a good job setting for him at ringside, with Talatonga opening the door for a Powerhouse v Giant match. The second half was more competitive for the other three contestants, but when Femi recovered, he started taking everyone apart. He pinned Sakura to advance into the tournament and delivered some entertaining moments. And I think, yeah, had to be the right result. He looked great, 6 out of 10. As we then moved on to Sol Rucker, who came out after break for her first official interview as the Women's IC champ. Kathy Kelly was there and asked how it felt to be finally champion, as the crowd chanted, "You deserve it." Rucker thanked the fans for always believing and gave props to Becky for a good fight. Her interview went interrupted, which felt like the right decision. It was the strongest promo she's given and a good start to her reign. As we then moved on to Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee versus Rusev and Ethan Page. And yeah, this came just a week after Ray beat Rusev to win an IC title shot. Lee spent a while in the ring, and when he was about to tag in Ray, the crowd started going nuts. All ego reigned on their parade, preventing the tag to show to cut to a break. The Master of the 619 finally tagged in after the show returned, and Lee was able to break away from being double teamed. The cheering crowd went nuts when Mysterio hit a series of signature moves. There was a lot, wasn't much to this match, but it was a crowd pleaser. The fans in Italy were excited to see the legend perform, but it was other than the three men who carried most of the weight in this bout, and Ray got the win with a 619 to Page. Overall, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. The first Queen of the Ring match was up next with Julia, Roxanne Perez, Io Sky and Lash Legend fighting for a semi-final spot. Much like Femi in the men's match, Legend found herself being targeted by all three opponents due to her size and power. It's far more competitive and unpredictable than the men's match though. All four women looked like they had an equal chance of winning, which kind of made it more fun to follow. But it was Io Sky who prevailed over Julia and got the win to earn a spot in the semi-finals. And yeah, overall I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. I think it's pretty decent stuff, and I think, you know, probably the right result as well. Io Sky, yeah, probably the best wrestler out of those. Before we got Seth Rollins versus Bron Breakker in this week's main event, and it was obviously a grudge match between these two. The crowd was singing along to Rollins' theme and was clearly in his corner as the opponents came face to face and talked some trash. Breakker got the action started by picking Rollins up and planting him in the corner for some shoulder thrust. We returned for a break to see Breakker firmly in control. Rollins kept trying to create space between them, but his former friends stayed on him. A solid match that pushed their feud forward, but it didn't feel like this was designed to be the finale. It was almost like they were purposely holding back as they knew there'd be a bigger clash in the future. The pace was a little slow in some spots, but the majority of what we got here was good. Breakker especially looked strong in his performance. Theory showed up to get involved, but Montez Ford showed up evening yards. Both opponents kicked out of each other's finisher before Breakker accidentally speared Paul Heyman through the barricade with a visionary capitalised for the victory. And yeah, like I said, let's get 7 out of 10 for me. A really fun match, and I think, yeah, definitely want to see more between these two in the future, and a big win for Seth Rollins. And also, yeah, Bron Breakker and Heyman, that's a fun spot, and it'd be intriguing to see where that goes. Monday's Raw gets a 5 out of 10 from me. It addressed everything that went down at Clash in Italy and had a couple of highlights, but as a whole it felt a bit lacklustre. For one thing, only having 4 matches across 2.5 hours was way too low. All 4 bouts were enjoyable. It didn't feel like we got enough action, especially with the Bloodline taking up so much time. Femi's looking so strong after his loss to Lesnar was the right call, and it felt like the right people won the King of the Queen of the Ring qualifying matches, so at least some good decisions were made. The main event was the biggest highlight of the night. Rollins v Breakker felt more akin to a P&E match, which is always nice on a weekly TV show. In fact, it was probably better than most of what we saw on on Sunday. So yeah, good stuff. 5 out of 10.
That's it for this video. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on our socials, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, meme and content. Subscribe to our other channels on screen right now, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.